wasn't even going to make a video on the second half of this. Americans are homeless, Islam identity and the tribal role of Western converts. See? The video is that. Americans are homeless, Islam identity and the tribal role of Western converts. Those things, I'm going to call them things, those things that we're seeing happening, or maybe not happening, all over the West, with so-called Muslims, so-called Islam, so-called radical Islam, as not, they're the Western converts. Okay, this bloke, Shahid Bolson, is from America. His family is from Germany and Ireland. Do you not realise that Islam is not a fucking race? Do you even realise that? Well, it is. It's a human race. Not the human competition, the human race. Okay? Where the whole race, all races come to an end. The entire race comes to an end at some point.
We'll pack up our tents and move on down the line. That's a fact. That's the nature of it. And the only way for us to interact with our people in the Muslim world, the only way for us to behave in the Muslim world and not be acting like colonizers is to respect and to acknowledge the reality that we do not have a stake in it the way that they do, and that we're there to support, that we're there to advise, not to dictate, and certainly not to disrupt. Our role must be an exclusively positive role. And I mean perpetually positive, always positive. Like if you're a guest at someone's house, you're a guest.
Listen to what he's saying here. Listen to what he's saying here. He's even telling all the Muslims, the so-called Muslims, the Western converts, the mess that we've created. We've created this mess with westernised Islam. He's even getting stuck into them. That's what I'm trying to wake you up to. You're being duped. We're all being gaslit into fighting with one another and just getting angrier and angrier and angrier and Sharia law this and blah blah. Here's one for you. You know halal food. Halal. You know what it is? It's kosher. What's kosher? It's food that's not tainted. It's food that we haven't fucked around with. That's all. Which is probably a good thing because, geez, we're fucking around with food, aren't we? Halal food has got to be organic. It's got to be not chemicals in it and not fucked around with it. It's not fucking got preservatives and all the bad shit. Why do you think they live so much longer than we do?
At someone's home and a family squabble breaks out. What do? You don't take sides. You're a guest. Your role is to try to mend things, to try to be positive, try to reconcile, try to calm everyone down, speak good. You don't involve yourself in the family dispute of your host. You compliment the hummus. That's what you do. And
do you realise you're looking at a man in his 60s here? In his 60s.
If you're asked, then you will try to see all sides. You'll try to bring some objectivity. You see what I mean? That's our role. I don't see that we can really have any other role besides that. I mean, it's the role of every Muslim to be an impartial witness, yes. But homeless Western Muslims, which is what we are, American converts and so on, I think that we are very specifically well suited for this function. So in my opinion, you should try to be that. You should try to hone that ability, hone those skills, so that you can fulfill that role properly. Rather than, for example, trying to assume any kind of other role that you really don't have a right to assume. Because the reality is we are distinct. We are a distinct group within the Ummah. Now understand, I said distinct. I didn't say better. I didn't say superior. I didn't say more special or anything like that. No, but we are distinct. That's a fact. We have a distinct situation. We have a distinct history and experience. And I think that we have to know what that status means for us and our place in the Ummah and our role in the Ummah. And I think that we need to try to understand ourselves like a tribe. Like I said, a Bedouin nomadic tribe, but a tribe in every meaningful way. That's what we are. American Muslims, reverts, and so on. That doesn't separate us from the rest of the Ummah, no, unless you don't understand properly where and how you fit in. But if you understand yourself as being a tribe, then in my opinion, you can have a better chance at cohesion and at solidifying your identity. And I'll say something else specifically here about us as a specific particular segment of the Ummah, us Western converts, Western reverts. Like I said, I think that we're a nomadic tribe within the Ummah. You know, we have things in common, just like a tribe does, that we don't have in common with Muslims in the Muslim world, that's unique to us. We have things in common both as diaspora Muslims and as converts, as reverts. So we're like a tribe, and you should think of yourself that way. And every tribe has a mukhtar. They have a chief. And unquestionably, the chief of our tribe, the mukhtar of the American Western reverts, without a doubt, is Malcolm X. And I don't say this casually. I really want you to understand what I mean by this. Because you do have to understand what a mukhtar is to his tribe. You know, in traditional societies, tribal societies, the mukhtar is not just an administrator of the tribe. He's the living embodiment of the tribe's identity, their values, their collective spirit. He's the moral compass. He's the cultural standard bearer, the archetype that all his people, all his tribe will emulate. The mukhtar doesn't just rule his people. He shapes the soul of his tribe. Do you understand? He's the cultural architect of his people. And for us, that's Malcolm. Every tribe has their ethos. They have an unwritten code that sort of defines their honor, their dignity, their way of life, and so forth. The mukhtar sets this code through his own conduct, through his decisions, through his speech, even through his demeanor. That becomes the reference point for the tribe for what's respected or what's condemned. You understand? You follow what I'm saying? You know, this is for all those people who, in my comment section, make references to Malcolm X when they see my videos. Well, that's my chief. That's my mukhtar. And if you're an American or a Western revert, he's your mukhtar as well. But you have to understand what your tribe is. You know, if the mukhtar values courage, then the tribe will glorify warriors. If he prioritizes wisdom, then elders and scholars will have prestige. If he's generous, then hospitality becomes sacred to the tribe. This is how the characteristics of a tribe are determined by their mukhtar. So understand that the mukhtar's personal behavior directly molds the tribe's cultural DNA. You know, if the mukhtar is someone who speaks with dignity and with courage, then his people will adopt a refined language and fearless language because they want to live up to their chief. They want to do justice to the reputation of their tribe that he established. If the mukhtar is
I promised I'd clean my room. Peter, Jordan Peterson, clean your room. Good, Dad. And irrespective of divisively pushed belief through media, Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King almost united all the tribes. Man, would we have a different world today. All across the West. Wait there for a sec. I'm going to remember something. Give me 2 seconds. It won't take long. I'll be back in a minute. Any minute. Next minute. He was a Christian. He was a devout Christian. That's what I thought. Yeah. Right. Malcolm X. He was a hardcore Muslim. Hardcore! About as hardcore as a Muslim gets. He was not calling for violence. He was calling for people to just... the golden rule. We will treat you how you treat us. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a devout Christian. Devout, hardcore Christian. Actually walking in the faith. Not fucking dribbling religious bullshit. And those two men nearly united. Those two men together almost united everyone in America. That's why they were so dangerous. Oh, the sunburns. Woo. Anyway, I'll finish folding this washing so I can get it laid out in the line. Yeah, I'm old school. I don't even own a dryer. Nor shall I.
Discipline, then laziness becomes shameful to his tribe. His qualities become the qualities that the whole tribe respects, that they adhere to, and that they aspire to and emulate. The Mukhtar is the tribe's soul personified. His virtues become their virtues. His flaws become their flaws. As you have to be careful. The Mukhtar's influence is immediate, visceral, and transformative. That's why in tribal cultures they have a saying that goes, and it holds true, the Mukhtar, as the Mukhtar is, so will the people be. So, you know, with all due respect to the da'is and the khatibs and so forth that you have over there in the West, including the ones who are converts, our chief, our Mukhtar, is Al-Hajj Malik Al-Shabazz, is Malcolm X. That's who our chief is. I don't know if I even know any reverts who were not either directly or indirectly inspired to come to Islam because of Malcolm X. Wallahi, there is no single individual in the West through whom more people came to Islam than Malik al-Shabazz. And he set the tone. He modeled the culture. He modeled the approach. And he created the ethos of exactly how Western and specifically American converts should be in America, in the West. You know, he was fearless in his convictions. He was uncompromising in his indictment of the Western power structure. But he was also pragmatic in his approach. You know, he worked to build bridges with the Muslim world and with Africa. And he went there seeking help in the Muslim world and in Africa for the conditions of so-called black people in America. He didn't go there trying to tell them how to run their affairs. No, he understood that both African Americans and Muslims in America, in the West, need to connect themselves with the global majority. He never sought acceptance from the power structure, Western power structure. He never believed a word that came out their mouths.
You can't, that's
and
why.
he was teaching you and I, teaching our tribe, how we are supposed to engage or how we're not supposed to engage with these people.
See that book there? See that book there? This is so old it's even got the halfway mark. And that's not the original. The original's about that thick. Yeah, it's three times bigger than that. That's about a third of the story. It's pretty old. But it ain't the one that went through the book burnings. I had it. I used to own it. It was stolen from me by, I'm going to drop your name, Graham Oates, Merla Oates, Paula Oates from Ulverston, stealing my suitcase that my grandfather was left on an orphanage doorstep with when he was a toddler, with a name pinned to him, John. No one knew his first or last name. Well, someone does. That's the name he came to Australia with, John, and that was it. I won't get into that. That's I suppose enough water's under the bridge now, a whole couple of generations. That was from running British intelligence. But, yeah, I'm dropping your names in that, because here's one for you. This is the police's mentality. I'm standing there with the $50 that I owed to Graham and Paula Oates' mum, Leela, because I'd been staying there after I split up with my ex. You know, they let me stay there for a while. Why? Because I left with nothing but the clothes on my back. And my panel band, which they sold on me. HQ panel band. And I owed them $50. Fair enough. I'm standing there with the $50 and they couldn't produce this suitcase full of books, which were my grandmother's and grandfathers from World War II. I never got the suitcase back, and the police are like, oh, it's a civil matter, there's nothing we can do about it. They can't produce me stuff, they've obviously stolen it, I've got the $50. Now it's a civil matter. No, it's not. No, it's not. They've stolen me shit. Now, so if I go in there and just take and look around in the house, you'll be charged for trespass. Apparently they know what trespass is then. Aggravated unlawful entry and all that sort of bullshit. Oh yeah. Well, can you go in and get my suitcase, please? It's not here. Well, where is it? Oh, give us the $50 and we'll go get your suitcase. I'm not giving you him $50 now and you go get me suitcase. The police aren't going to fucking back me up. Go and get me suitcase. And me and the police will wait here. And the police left. Well, the point of the book is, history has been rewritten, people. I had the original. What's his name? Clayton Clements? Thomas Clements? Mark Twain's real name. I had the original. And Tom Sawyer. Again, a book about the same size. About that size, like that way. But with two little hand-sketched drawings. The picture on mine was hand-sketched green on that coloured paper. I got that yesterday. It was the book that got me kicked out of school. I got kicked out of school over Huckleberry Finn. Why? History's been rewritten. If you ever wanted any more evidence than that, I don't know what you're going to get. Because that's about as to the bone as it comes. I got kicked out of school over Huckleberry Finn. That was my first political fight, and that's what set me on the road that I'm on today. Way on the way back machine. Why I forever are coming up loggerheads with the authorities. Because they're full of shit and they don't even know it.
You know, I gave a talk one time about being raised in Pharaoh's palace, meaning being raised in the United States of America, and therefore understanding that country because of being raised there, being born and raised there, understanding that culture and that pharaonic power structure. Well, Malcolm X showed us exactly how to behave and how to engage and how to confront that power structure because he was raised there too. Our whole tribe was raised there. This is a distinction we have, just like Nabi Musa alayhi salam. And there are two things, by the way, that you will not find our Mukhtar ever having done in his life. One is participating in a protest, and the other is criticizing the leaders of the Muslims. These are two things he never did. His da'wah was prosecution of American hypocrisy, prosecution of American double talk, prosecution of American brutality, and obviously prosecution of American racism. That was his da'wah. And that's our mukhtar, that's our chief, that's our model. Yes, epistemological sovereignty. You have to understand yourselves as American Muslims, as Western Muslims, as reverts, as converts, whatever word you want to use, according to our definitions and our understanding. And if you do that, well, then I think that you'll see that you are a tribe within the ummah, and that you do have a mukhtar who embodied the ethics and the standards of your tribe, or that your tribe should emulate. And those ethics did not include, for example, compromising on al-wala wal-bara, but strictly upholding it. It means understanding that our role in the West is prosecution, and our role with the Muslim world is connection. It's learning, it's support, it's bridge building. And then within the West, our role with each other in the West is upliftment, it's discipline, it's advocacy, it's defense, and it's economic empowerment. And you never utter a word in public that you know will give comfort or give satisfaction to your enemies. I mean, let me say something about that too, because there are some people who think that being impartial, being objective, is supposed to mean leveling equal criticism across the board. That's a Western trick, you know. They say you criticize the West, but if you're fair, then you'll criticize the Muslims too. You know, criticize the Arabs and what have you. No. What you think, if I call falsehood falsehood, then I should also call truth falsehood too, just to be fair? No, there's no equivalence. It isn't bias to put the blame where it belongs. You're attacking my people, you're attacking my ummah, morning, noon, and night. You think I'm supposed to join you in that? Just so that the people who are attacking my ummah, morning, noon, and night, unfairly, just so that those people will think I'm fair? I haven't made a single unfair criticism of the West. Not one. And just because there's no equivalent criticism against the Muslims that can be justified, that doesn't mean I'm biased. You know, if Jeffrey Dahmer was my neighbor, okay, and I complained about him murdering and eating people, you'd say that I was biased for not also complaining about my other neighbor who plays his music too loud. Why you gotta pick on Jeffrey Dahmer? This is a Western trick. Listen, the beginning of clarity is first understanding which team you're on. You know, understanding that there are teams, whether you like it or not, there are teams. And you can't be on all of them. So you have to know what team you're on, what side you're on, and what your function is on that team. And do your job. You have to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has organized the affairs of this world. And then you have to try to recognize and identify where you fit in that organization. And if you're having some kind of an identity crisis as a revert, as an American Muslim, as a Muslim in the West, then I think this is because you have lost your sense of what you can call tribal cohesion. And I think that you've neglected the memory of your mukhtar. And wallahi, you need to reconnect with that. If you reconnect with that, then you will better understand your role. You will better understand your identity. And then you'll start to have some clarity.
The Senate is in quorum call. I request
Look at that. Just look at that room. Just watch a second of that.
the quorum call be initiated. Without objection, Your Honor. Mr. President,
Bernie Sanders.
once again, let's be honest. Let us face up to reality and let us
The weed room, isn't it? When do you think on that? That is some fucked up shit. Anyway. I can't even add to what Shade's got to say on that. There's nothing you can add. What's the point? You said it. I think it explains why Aaron Molan has decided to lumber Christians in the same box with Islam now, doesn't it? When you think about Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X almost uniting all of America, they almost fixed the problem. They come so close to fixing the West. Why do you think they were assassinated? They didn't die of natural causes. They didn't go old and just fade away. They were both shot by American government. The CIA fucking killed them. Donald Trump's never going to dissolve the CIA. It's a separate entity. You can't. American government doesn't run America. The CIA does. And the CIA is a branch of Mossad. And what's the branch of Mossad? Mossad is run by Israel. Netanyahu. So who owns Trump? Netanyahu. There is no America. There is no United States of America. It's just the Americas. The Americas and the Polynesian Islands. It's all been stolen, just like Australia. But yes, it was stolen. It was stolen by the people who's here before us too. Australia's going to be the worst. It's going to be the worst case of hypocrisy in the big bus terminal of multiculturalism. It's a soup that's gone bad.